Thank you for this very kind introduction. And it's my great pleasure to be with you virtually this afternoon. I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. Lisbon has a very special place in my heart. It was my first trip out of Israel many years ago. My first city was Lisbon. So I have fond memories from this a visit very long time ago. So I want to talk about program verification. But I won't tell you what I did last summer, but instead I want to look at the history of the field from the beginning and offer you some perspective on it. And inevitably, when somebody tries to offer something like that, a perspective for a period of over 70 years, one, it's very personal perspective. I'm sure some of you know the field as well as I do, and they may have different perspective, but I would welcome discussion after the talk or even later by email. And you cannot be, in 1 hour talk, you cannot be comprehensive. So I will have to pick and choose what I'm going to talk about. So one of the first observations when you start programming is it's very hard to write error-free programs. So my introduction to programming was many years ago, Fortran, using punch cards. And you write your first program and you submit it, you write it on coding sheets, and then you discover you have, first of all, you give it to a key punch operator, and there are typing mistakes, and you have to overcome them, and then you realize you had syntactical errors, and only then you get to the logical error, and it takes a week to run a small program. It took a week to run a small program. But this difficult over the year, people have discovered that computer program error have severe consequences. There are consequences that have to do with life. You know, there are major space missions that did not succeed because of that, huge economic consequences. So it becomes very clear that just the standard method of intuition and testing is not good enough to produce error-free programs. And the first person to really formally address this issue was Alan Turing, our kind of founding father, who in June 1949, so computers are very young at that point, and he writes a paper, very short paper, like 3 pages, that's the title, checking a large routine. And he says, how can one check a routine in the sense of making sure that it is right, in order that the man, at the time it was only men he was talking about, you know, how do we check that there are no errors? And he described a method.